Jim, that was quite an introduction. Thank you for the generous words. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for always being willing to raise your own powerful voice of moral reason and to remind a country of the direction we should be in. So I'm privileged to be here with you tonight. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for extending the invitation. I have to say, when Jim offered me a speaking slot here this evening and a chance to talk with all of you, I had a bit of a rather big gulp. When I was growing up, the idea of speaking in front of a group of celebrated orders, priests, pastors, literally would have terrified me and kept me up all night. And then I married a preacher's daughter. Which explains why I have not slept since I got here. Jim said, "Do you want to?" And the answer was yes, but oh dear Lord. Grateful to be here with you. Grateful for the time. Grateful to share a few reflections this evening. And as Jim said, ladies and gentlemen, my mission here this evening is actually quite simple. It's to ask for your help. It is no secret that we gather in the midst of turbulent times in Washington. The President of the United States is under investigation for obstruction of justice. A foreign adversary that is knee-deep in our democracy. A Justice Department that is backing away from civil rights protections by the day. A budget, a tax reform plan, and a health care bill that will bring the sick and the struggling and the suffering to their knees. Immigration and refugee policies that are leaving devastated families and communities in their wake. And if you can believe it, elected officials that are actually cheering these decisions. So in the midst of such an onslaught, such unrelenting attacks on the values that we hold dear as a nation, it can be easy to write this off as madness, political theater, to dismiss every sporadic executive order or late-night tweet storm as the actions of an administration that are still struggling to get their feet beneath them, to get their bearings, of two hopelessly divided political parties, with a commander-in-chief that sometimes just can't seem to help us. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do that, we do it at our peril.
Yes.
Because if you take a step back, if you start connecting those dots, then the chaos clears, and a strategy is revealed that is breathtaking in its calculation and its close. This administration seems to believe that our nation's strength comes from empowering those at the top, ignoring those in the middle, and abandoning those at the bottom.
You're right.
Their policies and politics outline a consistent worldview, where to be different or diverse is to be weak. To be vulnerable is shameful and scorned. And by their account, human dignity isn't something that you're born with, it is something that you measure. By the size of your crowd, by the depth of your bank account, by the names of your friends, and by the number of your headlines. Not to mention the gender of your spouse, the country of your birth, the God of your prayers, or the color of your skin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is truly the greatest threat that we face.
Yes.
A rebuke of that highest American ideal that is as old as the scriptures and as clear as the Constitution. The belief that we all are worthy, that we are all equal, and that we all count. That in the eyes of our law and our leaders, our God and our government, that rich and poor have a common bond. The Lord is the maker of them all. So for those of us in this room tonight For all of you, I know that this is a deeply personal fight. Because the lesson of fundamental human dignity, of decency, lies at the heart of a Christian faith.
Amen.
Throughout the gospel, we are called on to acknowledge the humanity of those who are suffering, the impoverished, and the oppressed. Matthew summons us to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to welcome the stranger, to comfort the afflicted. Luke tells us the Good Samaritan's gentle mercy, kneeling beside a bleeding neighbor on the road to Jericho while others simply pass by. For men and women of faith, these stories outline the measure of our goodness and our greatness. Not the power we give the strong, but the strength that we give the weak.
All right.
For a noble country sees potential not only when we are at our best, but when we are also at our worst. When we are broken, when we are inadequate, when we are insufficient. When we fall short, when we do wrong, when we don't measure up. When we suffer, not because we are failures, but because we are human. Because there is nothing more universal to our brief experience here on earth than the fact that each of us, at some point, will feel all our sky fall. But for the grace of God, there go I.
Yes.
So we offer mercy not only because we are called to do so, but also because we know that at some point, we will need it too.
Yes.
And for generations, that has been a higher calling that has united Americans across divisions, across political parties, across geographies and boundaries. It's a patriotic edict laid out by President George W. Bush in his first inaugural. I can pledge our nation to a goal. When we see that wounded traveler on the road to Jericho, we will not pass on the other side. But today, I tell you in no uncertain terms that this collective commitment to dignity, a commitment that runs through everyone here tonight, that is ours. That we cannot write it off, we cannot pretend otherwise, we cannot regulate it to politics with an eye roller aside, because it is now infiltrating every inch of our American life. And I know you all know it.
Yes.
I know you see it, I know you feel it, I
Right.
know you see it deeply in the folks and the communities that you serve. For Washington today isn't just targeting the laws that protect us, they're targeting the very idea that we are all worthy of protection.
Right.
And so doing, they are, by carelessness or by calculation, giving cover to the darkest of our human instincts.
Yeah, you're telling them.
Hatred,
Yes.
intolerance, supremacy, and discrimination. An official commission that has been launched to legitimize voter suppression. A rejection of a global responsibility to care for our precious earth. Cuts to food stamps. Of $200 billion.
Wow.
Elimination of programs to help families in need to afford heating oil in the winter. And those to afford access to a lawyer for those that might lose their homes. A health care bill that scapegoats the sick, the poor, the suffering, the elderly, the disabled, and addicted with terrifying precision. And a president of the United States that calls it grace. A Speaker of the House that calls it mercy. And we wonder why our nation feels like it's being torn apart. Last week, friends of mine, colleagues of mine, were targeted by a man with a gun and a cold mission. After the shock, and horror, and grief dissipated in our halls, you could feel a sense today that this has now gone too far. This is not who we are. This is not what we do. You all know that feeling. You felt it in your bones for many months now. You've seen it in the worried eyes of congregations and the communities you serve, the neighborhoods, nursing homes, classrooms, living rooms, your proud communities. And a feeling we might become something that we don't believe in. But in that space, in that moment, it provides our opportunity. It's our guiding light and our opener. The simple fact that when given a chance, when given a choice, the vast majority of our friends, of our neighbors, of Americans, of strangers, that they will choose decency in their own lives every single day. That they lead towards goodness, and that they seek out grace. To make disagree over education, criminal justice reform, foreign policy. But we rally around community members who are suffering. They raise money for medical treatments, drop off home-cooked meals, offer rides home and safe harbors and kind words. They set out to teach children kindness and respect, not coldness or contempt. They volunteer, they clean up, they rescue, and they give back. And we know this, you know this, because it's your life's work. The great legacy of a living religious tradition, that communities of faithful gather every day around the world to bless and serve the poor, the meek, the mourning, the hungry, the persons. And that dedication makes our community stronger, our lives richer, our connections deeper. But how long can we ask our communities to make up for our government?
All right, I'm telling you.
Charity is no substitute for justice with God.
Amen. Amen. All right.
And today, we are locked in a battle with the character of our country. And for those committed to social justice, those of us guided by the moral goodness of faith, we could not have more to risk. So I'm here tonight to ask you, to beg you, to get in this fight more fully, more fiercely than you might want and than you might have had before. To expand and extend your pulpit and your voice to new heights, to preach to new depths. You have all spent your careers, your lives, in defense of our better days, fluent in our frailties and our failures. You have borne witness to crowning moments, marriages, births, christenings, graduations, anniversaries. You have held our hands through the darkest of days, of shame, of anguish, people at our weakest and most vulnerable. You lead your communities, our communities, through life's soaring heights and painful falls by reminding all of us of a moral compass that will always guide our way. And this moment demands more of us than we might feel capable of giving. More than we have traditionally done, and more than we have ever expected. But for all of you, please, it's your reservoirs of faith, of wisdom, of gentleness, of justice, of generosity, of the trust that you have righteously earned from the people you serve. You all are the ones to meet this morning. You are the ones we are counting on. Help us make sure that America hears an alternative story.
Yes, yes.
Help us show our fractured or fearful country a different way.
Yes.
Not a Democratic agenda or a Republican one, but a decent one.
Yes, yes.
For from the end of the earth, I call to you when my heart is full. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Where you lead with strength, where you lead with surety, a grateful nation will fall. So thank you for showing up today. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for your example, for your open hearts. We need you. We need your voices. We need the voices of the people that you touch, people that hear you, people that know you. We need them to call. We need them to write. Decisions that may mean life and death.
Yes, yes.
So that we remember that we made in these halls within a week. We need your voices. We need their voices. I'm grateful for the invitation. I'm grateful for the opportunity to join you. Thank you so much for watching me.